if we really do want to try and find a peaceful solution and to calm down what is, a very, very dangerous, violent, murderous situation, then the liberation of Abdullah Öcalan is absolutely essential because only he has the political and moral authority to really engage on behalf of Kurds in different parts of Kurdistan, in order to lead the negotiations and try to chart a way forward towards peace. The international dimension is absolutely essential, as it often is in all peace processes, whether it was Northern Ireland or Colombia or elsewhere. The national governments, particularly the powerful and influential ones, but also the transnational institutions like the European Union, Council of Europe, and also the Committee for the Prevention of Torture and so on, they all have an important role and are all in a position to put pressure on the Turkish government. It's really about how do we get pressure on Erdogan and the Turkish government to do what it needs to do. And we're certainly not at that stage yet. So now is the moment where all of the solidarity movements and all progressive political forces should maximize pressure on their own governments in order to put pressure on the Turkish government to move in the right direction. The granting of honorary citizenship is really a very important act of solidarity. It's a demonstration that people in that country or in that particular municipality or region identify with Abdullah Öcalan. They obviously, as by doing that, are stating that they are opposed to the inhumane and torturous conditions that he's been held in for over 25 years now. And it's also a political expression, again, in support of his position towards a peaceful and negotiated solution and a move towards a truly democratic society, a democratic Turkey and a democratic region. Abdullah Öcalan has, as we've mentioned a couple of times already, a bit like Nelson Mandela, spent over a quarter of a century in prison. He's been quite inspirational in terms of his political thought and his, new views of democratic confederalism. And I think most importantly, recently, he's taken a huge, huge step after decades of repression and violence from the Turkish state. He has now called for the PKK to look at demobilizing and moving towards a political space and new political configurations. And that is a massive, massive move that we're urging the Turkish state and other actors to engage with and to take seriously and to move towards a negotiated, peaceful solution. So we think his leadership in that regard, and it's a leadership that only he can really play, only he's got that political authority and moral authority to do it, is worthy of granting and recognizing properly. And a Nobel Peace Prize seems very appropriate for the moves that he's taken and the courage that he's showing to do that. So that's why we really think that would be a extremely important recognition of his role, and we believe would actually go a long way in terms of encouraging the peace process and move towards a democratic solution. So really, it's a dangerous moment where we need figures, we need leadership to try and get us off the path of bigger and bigger conflicts and a potential World War III when you look at the geography in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. So Abdullah Öcalan's freedom and Abdullah Öcalan's leadership at this moment is absolutely critical. And we from outside those particular areas must do absolutely everything we can to support him, to support that initiative, and encourage the forces within Turkey that have at least now started to engage to go further. what we can't afford, the region can't afford, the Kurdish people, the Turkish people, the Syrian people can't afford is another false or failed peace process. It has to be a real one. It has to be meaningful, and all parties have to commit to that. Now, the Turkish state can make a very, very significant and serious move by liberating Abdullah Öcalan and allowing him to play the role that only he can play.